You want to shout out for me and have more vids frequently? Then support me on Patreon, where the cost is only $3. I think we've all seen one situation where the coach has their kid on the team. Some coaches are very humble about this and treat their child the same as everyone else to not show that bias. Others, well, you already know. Good morning everyone, my name is Jason Blade, and this is a Bat's Closer Look at Hey Arnold Benchwarmer. I want to start off talking about the unique art style of the show. Now, I haven't grown up with the show myself, as it came out the same year I was born, and I never had decent cable until I was in the 4th grade. So I did miss on a lot of the major shows that put Nickelodeon on the map. Hey Arnold is a very intriguing design, as each character has a very distinct look about them with a variety of shapes among the kids being shown. That is certainly the case in the opening scene. The background characters are very unique, and don't even get me started on the setting. It has a grime-like feel to it as it is placed in Hillwood. It gives me those Brooklyn vibes, which fits into the distinction that the characters have.
Being as I am the coach of this said team, it's recumbent that you do whatever I dictate, so get the ball, Tucker.
Cool. This is where I start flaming. So as stated before in this video, we have a coach that is trying to push his accomplishments to his son. This dude probably got dunked on by a superior player and ate his way out of playing basketball, looking like a pot-bellied snowman. Might as well call him Frosty. Where your top hat at? It's very clear that he considers his son to be the best thing since the birth of Jesus. I mean, with his introductory speech basically being a jerk-off session to his own son. He starts off with saying he's the coach, so you have to do what he says. Then continues stating that the offense should revolve around one player, and dragging this kid out here saying, hey, this is my son. Give him the ball. Always. I also enjoy the touch where he said Tucker would have been MVP if it wasn't for the voting. Really pushing that the votes was rigged like certain supporters. Oh, I'm sorry, I had to. It was a great way to show how unbearable Coach Wittenberg is with this intro. And his unbearableness increased with each drill focusing on passing the ball to Tucker. Then doing in-game scenarios that revolve around passing the ball to Tucker. Now, considering this is a 90s show, repetition animation-wise is common. A primary example will be the running cycles during the full court drill, and the passing of the ball. They take a lot of shortcuts in these. We see the characters passing the ball, but we only see Tucker catching it once. However, since this is 90s animation, we have to take our cultural blinders off for this because animation back then had nowhere near the technology we have now. So it becomes more excruciatingly difficult to flesh out certain animations within a certain time period of an episode. Everything was hand-drawn, so making a mistake can really hold animators back. So it makes sense to reuse certain things in an episode to help move the plot along.
Before we go out there, I want you guys to remember the words of the great Guy Lombardo. There is no I in team. Now, get out there and make sure Tucker gets the ball.
Man, the amount of hypocrisy this dude has is insane. There's no I in team, so let's go ahead and work together to get the ball to my son because he's the star of this league. So, unlike previous episodes reviewed in this basketball series, the team heavily relies on the perimeter shooting side of things. Of course, since the team's offense is revolved around Tucker, a lot of the plays are focused on getting Tucker open for shots.
You need to think about your insubordinates. You're out of the game.
Does he not know how adapting works? It was obvious that the opponent was going to try to diminish what is perceived to be the team's best asset. So Arnold had to pass the ball to Gerald because he was the open man for a score. Forcing it to Tucker all the time would make for some dumb turnovers and would lead to costing more games. But it seems the big man doesn't care for that, which makes complete sense for this episode. Wittenberg's goal is to make Tucker look to be the best player in the entire youth league, treating as if he's got the career of LeBron. After all, he's obsessed with making sure his son gets the most recognition in this team's success. However, it takes away that enjoyment of playing the game for the other kids. Punishing Arnold is a great example of that because he's essentially getting benched for choosing to play smart basketball instead of stroking the Wittenberg family's giant ego.
I think I'm gonna quit the basketball team.
I remembered what my grandfather said to me.
What was that?
Don't quit, you ninny!
Sounds good, Gramps. Okay, yes, I'm copping out clip-wise, but you know Turner has been on my butt for the last couple of videos, and I'm trying not to get another claim, so yeah. I'll admit, when I was younger, I never understood what Grandpa meant most of the time I watched the show. And mind you, it's very, very few episodes, and I don't remember any of them. However, now that I'm older, I definitely got what the story he was telling while watching this episode. The setup for the story was great as it gives the old man telling tale vibe, much like with Valyor back in the Chalk episode I reviewed previously. Only this time, the story felt genuine and gives Grandpa a sense of character by the end of it. Being a part of the circus, albeit the more unsanitary part of it, was interesting to listen to, and it fits well with the theme this episode is focused on. Now we finally see a flaw in Tucker's game. His free throw shooting is DeAndre level Jordans of bad. Seeing him get chewed out for missing those costly shots was expected because there's no way you should be able to miss free throws at any point, right? Wrong. While yes, free throws are very easy to make with the right technique, we also have to put into perspective of the mental part of the game itself. Being in that moment where the game is on the line, the expectation of succeeding is incredibly high. So if you're not in the right mental state, it can lead up to you choking in that moment. Much like missing a field goal in football and missing a penalty kick in soccer. If you're not able to diminish that pressure, it can haunt you.
You coming, Arnold? I'm just gonna shoot around.
Okay, I'll see you later, man.
Arnold, what kind of shooting form is this? Alright, whatever works. Carry on.
I can never do that.
Come on, son, don't let me down. Take the shot. Let me down.
Every time I try, think of my dad and I choke. Big time.
Now we understand where the stress is coming from. With Tucker being the main focus on the team, he gets a lot of pressure thrown onto him because of his father's obsession in making him the best. Since his father is the coach of this team, he gets that 24/7. That's a lot to put on someone so young. This is the first time we get to see dialogue with Tucker as well. Seeing Tucker under stress and admitting his flaw in his game is such an eye-opener because we start off not liking him since he was the one being focused on so much in the game plan. Now, that turns on its head because we have to remember Tucker never told his dad to make sure he gets the ball every play. This was all Coach Wittenberg. He made it clear that he believes his son is the GOAT of the youth league. Which is weird because why would you consider someone the GOAT of a youth program, but I digress. So he wants that to be well known with forcing the ball to him so much. We never get to see Tucker's side of things until now, and it was a great sympathizing moment.
Hey, how many little dots do you think are on the surface of the ball?
I don't know. I never really thought about it.
There are 9,366 little dots.
Alright Arnold, you had to have Googled this. This training montage was a very weird way to teach someone how to shoot a free throw. At the same time, a lot of the early methods seem to focus on the mental part rather than the actual technique. We see the emphasis on trusting the ball. And what better way to do that than to put a blindfold on? Nice. This segment mellowed me out from watching it. Using a Hindu-like soundtrack to push the idea that you need to be calm and collective in order to gain success on the free throw line was a nice touch. It takes the scene to an outer world experience, and I can appreciate that.
I want you guys to go out there and win. I want you to remember one ordinal rule. No missed free throws.
Bro, get out of this man's grill! No wonder this dude cracks under pressure. Being able to witness his much improved free throw shooting was great because we see Tucker become a lot more confident in his free throw shot. Can I also point out that he gets fouled a lot? Which tells me that other teams recognize how bad his free throws were at the time. I like that touch because it gives the sense that these youth teams are learning from each other's playstyles and adapting accordingly, which is something you'd expect from showing a variety of teams playing Tucker's squad. I just realized we don't have any names for these teams. Regardless, with Tucker's crew ripping apart the opponent, he's getting some great praise from his pops.
What did you do?
Nothing special. Just good old-fashioned hard work.
All on your own, huh?
Yeah, all on my own.
Okay, now it's time to grow flat face over here. I'm glad your mom decided to push you out against a window at birth. Now I don't have to tell you to look up into that big old nostril to see where in that idiotic brain told you not to give Arnold credit in helping you out. I can see why your dad is trying to make you like LeBron. You already got the six-head look going for you. Maybe you should use that head of yours to erase your mistakes with it looking like the bottom of my pencil. Get out of here. So after flat out taking full credit, we see Tucker go back to his old ways hardcore. Holy moly, those were some bad shots. But it does push the narrative that he put the pressure back onto himself when he didn't need to. It shows how much he wants to show his dad that he can match that expectation level all on his own. If he told his dad that Arnold was the one to help him out, the worst case scenario would be the coach shaming him for asking the bench warmer for help. Think of it like a hierarchy. Tucker is supposed to be seen as the top of the totem pole, while Arnold is at the very bottom. Getting over someone that is viewed as lesser wouldn't sit well for that elitist stature Coach Wittenberg has. But he also misses the point that the base of the team is what helps elevate it to the best performance. Now the team suffers with that mistake, being down by a basket with only a few seconds left to play.
I'm short.
Well, would you look at that? Character growth. It was a real touching moment to see Tucker give this moment to Arnold. Plus, giving that moment for Tucker to place his dad in an ultimatum to either forfeit the game or put the trust in Arnold. I like this because Tucker recognizes at the end of the day, he has just as much power as the coach himself because that is his dad. So, turning on the coach and forcing him to trust that the rest of the squad can do it without Tucker is a great way to prove this man wrong.
If we make a two-pointer instead of a free throw, we'll win the game. Let's do that play we worked on at the park.
I'll be honest, I would have liked more basketball, Arnold. However, him doing this adds another layer of trust within his teammates. I also like how they snubbed the coach from going into this huddle. I think him looking dead at Wittenberg's face before missing the second free throw shot on purpose to set up the one play at the park felt scary but invigorating, especially since the play worked tremendously.
From now on, everyone touches the ball. Then we pass it to Tucker.
Dad.
Who will pass it to the rest of you?
So that was Benchwarmer, the slowest pace so far in this series of reviews. The overall lesson in this episode was constructed very well in the big picture. The lesson of trusting every piece on the team is what makes a team so much more successful. The contrast of Coach Wittenberg and Tucker in the dynamic of father and son gives you that perspective of how it can be like as a coach's kid in the worst way. Arnold did his role very well, and it made sense for him to be in that spot, since he is known for being the most humbled kid in the town. If you're wanting an episode that shows that teamwork makes the dream work, then this episode is truly for you. Thank you for taking the time to see this Bats Closer Look. Click on the video to the right to see more and subscribe to Jason Blade to join the trip to 1K. You can send your take about this episode in the comments section below. Until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.